If a wrong judgment can kill someone, then tell me, how many have you killed without knowing? She only wrote one story, but the next morning, someone was dead. And tonight, something is coming to judge her back.
Taidy, a 24-year-old woman, works as a social affairs reporter's assistant. She's observant and believes in justice above all else. On a rainy night, the entire city seemed drowned out by the sound of water. Taidy sat alone at her computer, exhausted from the day's work, until an anonymous audio file was sent. Taidy. Who sent a file at this time? Those who judge wrongly will be judged in return. Taidy. What is this? A faint breath sounded near her ear, followed by words that made her heart stop for a moment, and the sound of metal clanging, like scales shifting. The names of 5 powerful individuals appeared on the screen. Taidy tried to tell herself it was just a joke, just a lie. Who would believe it? But deep down, unease began to build. Unbeknownst to her, something was already beginning. In an office filled with power and judgment, the silence was so heavy it seemed to weigh down every breath. He glanced towards the corner of the room. It was as if someone was standing there. Who is it? His voice trembled. But there was no answer. Only the lights in the room slowly went out, one by one. One by one. Slowly. Like someone was choosing to let darkness replace reality. And in that moment, he began to understand that sometimes the most terrifying thing is not what you can see, but what you know is coming. The next morning, news of the minister's death spread rapidly. No one could explain how he died. There were no signs of a struggle, no poison, no weapons. Taidy stood, staring at the body. But what Taidy saw wasn't just a corpse. It was the lingering fear that still clung to the room. Police. There are no signs of murder. Taidy. But he was afraid of something before he died. On the desk, a small scale lay. No one knew where it came from. Taidy. This scale. Where did it come from? Everyone on the list had wrongly judged someone? As Taidy began to investigate, she picked up old case files, delving deep into the past. She discovered a truth that weighed heavily on her heart. Everyone on the list had bent justice. That night, the silence was no longer trustworthy. Taidy began to hear strange noises, the sound of metal clinking softly, like something was moving, and it wasn't far from her. Taidy. What was that sound? In her dream, Taidy stood in an empty courtroom. No judge, no people, only a mysterious woman holding something heavier than reality. Her words were silent, yet they echoed in her mind. The mysterious woman? Human justice never disappears. It just waits for its time to be reclaimed. Taidy? Who are you? The mysterious woman? What they built from injustice. Taidy woke up with a start. No, it was just a dream. Clack. That voice is still there. The scales moved on their own, the sound of metal clanging clear, before everything went dark. Taidy woke up with a start, but the silence in the room was no longer the same, because that same voice was still there. And in her heart, she began to feel that she wasn't just watching this, but she was being chosen by something. In a seemingly warm home, the second judge sat gazing at a family photograph. His seemingly perfect life appeared to have nothing to worry about. The judge muttered, "It's in the past. It's over." Until a knock on the door. When the door opened, no one stood there. Only a scale of unknown origin lay before him. Whispers surrounded him. The voices of truth that he had once avoided. And this time, he could no longer escape it. "You judged me without listening to me." He collapsed, sobbing. The judge, "No, I had no choice." The next morning, the judge was found dead. Society still lauded him as a good man. But the truth that Taidy discovered was different. He had wrongly judged a case due to political pressure. A single judgment cost an innocent person their life. The goodness that society saw might not be the whole truth. And now, something was judging him in return. He judged wrongly because of pressure. This is no longer just a mystery. Taidy was beginning to understand. This wasn't just strange. It was punishment. The rain had stopped, but the silence was more oppressive than before. Taidy sat alone amidst the scattered documents and photos of the deceased on her desk. The more she looked, the more it seemed as if they were asking her something. And the answer, she wasn't sure of. She clutched her head. This isn't justice. It's a hunt. A metallic sound rang out of nowhere near her ear. Clang. She flinched, turning to look. No one was there. But the sound was closer. The silence grew heavier. A woman's voice became clearer. And when they judge the wrong person, what do you call that? Taidy froze, her breath catching in her throat. It's a system error. The woman's voice. The system has no heart, but you do. The question she had been trying to avoid was thrown back at her. And this time, it didn't demand an explanation. It demanded accountability. The room's temperature dropped rapidly. Taidy's breath began to condense. A scale appeared out of nowhere, and it slowly tilted to one side, with nothing on it. Every judgment weighs, even if you don't see it. Taidy slowly reached out and touched it. The moment her fingertips touched, multiple screams flooded into her head simultaneously. "I didn't do it! Listen to me! You killed me!" Taidy collapsed to the floor, screaming uncontrollably. "Stop! Enough!" The truth she had never heard before now echoed inescapably. And in that instant, she began to understand that justice wasn't something easily spoken of. That same night, the lights in the room flickered incessantly, as if something was intruding into her world. Taidy opened the audio file again. Her hands trembled, almost pressing the wrong button. The list scrolled down slowly, until the last name, her own. And in that instant, Taidy realized that she was no longer just an observer. Taidy's voice was hoarse. No, it wasn't me. The voice in the file continued immediately, as if answering the question. Those who judge without listening share in that judgment. Suddenly, the chair opposite her moved on its own, as if someone was sitting there. Even though she couldn't see, the feeling was undeniably clear. The voice she had ignored before was asking her again. A hoarse, dry male voice. "Do you remember me?" Taidy's tears flowed instantly, even without seeing the face. "Taidy, I don't know." A soft laugh sounded. Male voice. "Of course. For you, it was just one news story." The air grew heavier, as if pressing down on her chest. But for me, it was my whole life. The chair began to indent, as if a real weight was pressing down. "You wrote that I was a murderer. Do you know what happened after that?" Memories flooded back. The sound of cursing, the sound of things being thrown in the house, the sound of her mother crying, the sounds of pain she had never heard before, clearer than ever. A man's voice. "I lost everything because of a few words from you." Taidy trembled. A man's voice. "And you just walked away, like nothing happened." The voice grew closer, almost right in front of her. A man's voice. "Do you think that was fair?" Taidy, voice trembling. Her words that day became a life-changing verdict for someone. And now, the only question she can't escape is, was what she did truly fair? Taidy collapses. Taidy's world shatters, taking her back to the beginning. A bustling newsroom, where speed prefers the truth. And split-second decisions are changing someone's life forever. The keyboard clatters. The boss yells impatiently. "We have to release this before anyone else." But the evidence isn't complete. Society demands answers, not hesitation. Taidy pauses, then continues typing. The news is released, and in an instant, a man becomes the target of hatred. The crowd, "Murderer! Die!" The man, "I didn't do it! Listen to me!" He tries to explain, but no one listens. Not even the person who caused the news. His last night is silent. No sound remains, only despair. His last words were not excuses, but a truth no one wanted to hear. The man sits alone. His hands tremble as he writes a letter. "I didn't do it, but no one believes me anymore." A tear falls onto the paper. Perhaps the truth is worthless if no one wants to hear it. A chair falls. Everything is silent. Taidy returns to the present, confronted with an inescapable truth. She screams, covering her ears. "Taidy, stop! Stop it!" An immediate reply. "When I asked you to stop, you didn't listen." Silence falls once more. The scales reappear. This time, they weigh real. On one side is the pain of the judge. On the other is her. A woman's voice. This is what you carry, even if you try to forget. Taidy collapses, tears streaming down her face. I didn't mean to. A woman's voice. No one intends to. But the consequences still occur. The scales slowly tilt, and then stop, holding still, as if awaiting the final judgment. The mysterious woman revealed herself clearly, but she wasn't the goddess Taidy thought she was. Her face kept changing. It was the face of someone who had been wrongly judged, all combined into one being. Mysterious woman. I am what remains of your mistakes. The scales rose again. You didn't kill him with your hands. You killed him with your words. Taidy slumped. I just did my job. Everyone says that. This time, it wasn't just a symbol. It was the weight of action. Words that once seemed light now weighed heavily enough to destroy a life. And Taidy began to truly understand that. In a world of true justice, there are no positions, no excuses. There is only one thing weighed: the results of our choices. And for Taidy, her past judgments were inevitably coming back to haunt her. These scales don't judge by the law, but they judge by the consequences of our actions. After running away from the truth for so long, Taidy finally stopped. She made no excuses, no blame, only acceptance of what she had done. Taidy closed her eyes. I admit, I was wrong. The scales reappeared. The weights began to shift, but instead of tilting to one side, they remained still, as if her acceptance had shifted the weight of everything. The mysterious woman. It's strange. The one who admits guilt is often not the one we should punish. Taidy, it's not tilting. Taidy, so what should I do? The mysterious woman. Use your rest of your life to fix it. There was no judgment, no punishment, only chance. A chance to make amends in a more difficult way, to live with the truth, and to choose to do the right thing every time from now on. Taidy is still alive, but she's not the same person anymore. Every word, every piece of information, every sound, she listens intently, because she knows now that one single mistake can change someone's life forever. Taidy, I won't make the same mistake again.
One day, the same audio file returns, but this time, it's different. A new list begins, and the voice she hears is her own, as if this cycle isn't over yet. The voice in the file, Taidy's voice. Justice isn't something we possess, but something we must choose. The story may be over for her, but not for everyone. The scales continue to turn, not for revenge, but to remind that justice never disappears. It's just waiting for someone to choose it. Taidy. And you? Have you ever judged someone too quickly? Clang. Power itself is not something to be feared, but the unjust use of power is the most dangerous thing. Because ultimately, no matter how great you are, the scales of justice will always be waiting for you.